Just tell us a little bit about, in your position as Chief Executive, what challenges do RIBA face?
I think the biggest challenge, like all sorts of organisations now, is as we come out of the recession, economic times get better, how we respond to that, how we sort of help our members to work in changed circumstances. Generally, things are getting better for construction industry and therefore for architects, which is great. But I also think that people will need new skills and new specialisms, new ways of working to help them to go into the future. So I think that's the biggest challenge probably. Sitting alongside that is that during the recession, occasionally what's happened is that there's been a greater focus on cost than on quality in construction as a whole. And one of the things that we're really, really keen on is to make sure that when money is spent, whether by the private sector or the public sector, that value is delivered, and part of value is about quality.
And you don't think that's been happening?
It's been
probably
more
because of
variable.
this period of austerity.
Sure. It's been more variable. So there's a lot of rhetoric around quality within public procurement. Sometimes people take the easy route of just doing the cheapest, and that can be a false economy. I was just talking to somebody the other day who was being commissioned to rebuild a health centre. And that health centre had only opened 10 years earlier, but because it had been designed very cheaply and what felt like probably really good value at the time, it's actually having to be redone 10 years on without what you'd normally expect to happen, some flexibility, some adaptation. So it's that quality versus cost thing, and it's one of the things that we're really keen on.
And sustainability in many ways then as well, because that's one of the buzzwords of today, isn't it? That made to last.
And a key element of sustainability obviously is a very traditional version of the word, which is made to last, exactly as you say. So it's not just about you can have something that's very environmentally sustainable short term, but if you have to knock it down and start again, that's not that sustainable.
And is there, you hear about restoration, does that play a big part in this, do you think?
It's really important. It's another key element of sustainability. It's adaptation of buildings, it's reuse of buildings. The embodied energy in buildings is enormous, and you'd struggle, however brilliant the new building is, sometimes you struggle to ever recoup that embodied energy from the building you've demolished. So clearly you can't always reuse a building, but that should be one of the first questions you ask.
And how does RIBA respond to its members?
Well, I mean, we're lucky enough to have 42,000 members in the UK and around the world, and I suppose what our members want from us is a whole variety of things. So on the one hand, I think one of the most important jobs that we do is communicating with the public, with government, with policymakers about the ways in which architecture, buildings, places and spaces affect all of our lives. It's kind of something we know instinctively, but this message, very importantly, that architecture is not some remote activity that's carried out just on big buildings. It's the house you live in, it's the shops you shop in, it's the school your kids go to, and that constant explanation of that and engagement of people in it. So we do a really massively increased programme now of public communication. So something you may have caught recently, a TV series called The Brits Who Built the Modern World on BBC4, which is about sort of big name architects of the last half of the 20th century and up till now. That sits alongside a big exhibition we've got in our new gallery at Portland Place in London, which will be coming to Liverpool next year, which really is about not talking to architects about how important architecture is, because most architects know that, but talking to all of us, people like me who are not architects.
Is there a call for outreach amongst architects to the public and to local authorities, local
it's utterly
regional
completely.
groups and organisations?
It's utterly crucial. I mean, a lot of our members around the country we have 55 or so active branches around the country. They'll do a lot of work working with local authorities and others. And it's crucial. I mean, it's crucial for two reasons. Number one, and mainly because architects as professionals love architecture and they want to tell people about it, which is pretty admirable from my point of view. But number two, if you want people to commission architects in order to build really good buildings, people have to understand what it is an architect can offer. And that's a bigger challenge, I would say, with what you might call a non-professional client. So, if someone's commissioning buildings all the time, they kind of get it automatically because they've done it. But if like, me 5-6 years ago before I was at the RIBA, you're commissioning an architect for the very first time, how do you do that? What's your point of how do you have that conversation with the architect? And I think we sometimes forget that that's quite a challenging thing for non-professional clients, and so that communication and engagement with non-professional clients is really crucial.
The University of Huddersfield, inspiring tomorrow's professionals.